but they know how you got there, or they don't know what happened in your life that you had to overcome. And also to be encouraging about those bruises and the brokenness, because usually when people say broken, it's like, oh man, that's a bad word, right? Like if you're broken, it's bad. Well, that's not true because you have to be broken to get the light out, right?
You're listening to the Bacon Bits and Bites podcast, and I'm your host, Karen Swizik. This is the podcast where a bit of business and a bite of technology come together. Hi, everyone, and thanks for tuning into the podcast. And today on the show with me, I have Tawana Anderson. Tawana is the owner of Tawana Anderson, LLC, and the founder of Shine. Stuff happens, it's not the end. As a former teen mom, she shines her light by being authentic, hopeful, and confident despite what she has been through, showing others that they can shine as well. Her mission is to empower individuals to let go of their past and shine in their present. Shine is a lifestyle teaching others to live their best lives, no matter the circumstances. Through Shine, women and teens are motivated towards action. They regain hope, grow in self-confidence, and develop greater personal authenticity. Welcome to the show, Tawana.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm so happy that you could make it on the show today. So, first off, let's talk about your upbringing. What was it like growing up in a neighborhood full of drugs, alcohol, and high school dropouts?
For me, growing up in that kind of environment, sometimes you think that that is normal because you don't know any different. But for me, I had a chance to actually spend some of my time in Cali, or also just have parents and grandparents around me who let me know that that was not normal. So growing up in that environment was kind of challenging, but also I knew that that was not going to be the lifestyle that I wanted to have or choose. So that was actually a good thing, because my mom always preached about like drugs and things like that. And she would always say, if you try one drug, it'll lead to another one. So which meant that I never ever tried any of those drugs at all. And, so just being in an environment, sometimes you don't know that there was something better, but I was fortunate to know that there was something better because of my family.
Right. And you felt that your family helped you stay positive?
Yes, they had me stay positive, and they were very, very supportive.
Oh, that's nice to hear. So you had a great, a strong family connection to help you stay positive, but were there ever certain times while you were in high school that you were tempted to follow the paths of some of your peers?
Um, I guess you can say that. So for me, I did become a teen mom. So that kind of like threw a monkey wrench in my plans, but I survived. And so, as far as following the crowd, I guess in that was fortunate to go to a college preparatory high school where those things weren't as prevalent there. Like there wasn't a lot of, drug use or kids having babies and things like that. So that actually helped as well.
So what made you decide to get into IT? Like growing up, were you always interested in like technical things? Were you tinkering around with like computers?
For me, actually, I always wanted to be an FBI agent.
Oh, cool.
Yes, like that was like my dream job, is still my dream job. So at the same time, with IT, it's kind of something that kind of fell in my lap. I joined the military, took a class, and I got a job as a radar repairer. So learning like circuits, AC, DC, that kind of thing. And it just kind of led into an IT path. Also, I do a lot of security. So it's kind of crazy because for me, being an FBI agent would be like protecting people. So now my focus in IT is security. So it's still protecting people and to protecting data actually. So I guess for me, it's still kind of the same thing.
And when you first like started your career, were there a lot of women working in the industry?
No, most of the time, most of my career, I have been like the only woman on my team. Sometimes there are other women in the IT field, but or in the IT department, but they actually fall under roles that are not as technical, more like support roles. But as far as being like a technical IT person, there aren't that many women in the industry. So sometimes I find myself being the only woman, which is not bad though. But sometimes you have to prove yourself and you have to, kind of work a little bit harder than the men to get a little more respect. But I welcome the challenge to get a little more respect. But I welcome the challenge.
Why do you think there aren't that many women in your field?
I think that maybe a lot of women are not geeks, or they see it as being, or they see it as being a geeky kind of field. But when you really start looking around, there's starting to be a lot of more women in STEM.
Mhm.
I just think that a lot of women either they're into other stuff like maybe accounting or that kind of thing, but just being in a technical environment sometimes for women, they just sometimes maybe I would think we would rather, do something that's probably a little more glamorous. Yeah, because when you think about IT, you think about this guy who is kind of like overweight, sitting at this computer, drinking coffee all day, taking smoke breaks, right?
Mhm.
But it's really not like that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. What would you give to young girls and young women who are interested in pursuing a similar path to yours, but again, like they have this image of, it being mostly men or it's, being geeky is not cool. Like, what would you tell them?
I would actually say figure out what you love to do and just actually go with that. Like if you, like just look into IT, look into STEM, period. If you love math and science, there are so many jobs within IT that you can do. People just think about just sitting at a computer all day, but it's just not that. I mean, you have business analysts, you have developers, you have database teams, just programmers, you have all these different components of IT. So if it's something that you are into, you just don't have to work or fix a computer. People mostly think sometimes it's just fixing a computer, and it's just not that. So if there was a young woman who came to me, I would really encourage it and also find mentors because there are a lot of women out here who are in the STEM field and they want to reach back and give back because we all know how hard it was for us when we first got into this industry. So we want to give back to younger women. So I'll just say find a mentor and find what parts of IT that you love and stay in that area and don't do something just because like for instance, you hear that programming is like the thing to do.
Mhm.
Well, I took a programming class and I never took another one. I was like, that's not for me.
Ah,
I don't
interesting.
want to do that. Like, I don't want to do that. I would rather be like a network engineer or a network analyst or something like that. Or for me now, my focus is just security, like just securing data, securing servers and things like that. That is just what I'm into right now. And so, I mean, I've always been into it, but I'm more than anything now in my IT career.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I'm glad that you mentioned that because I think one of the common misconceptions is that people think that coding is the only avenue to take. So, with respect to what you're doing, in like cybersecurity, so you don't like specifically do any type of programming. Do you mind like describing some of the tasks you do?
So for security, sometimes it could just be securing the network as far as dealing with firewalls and routers and those kind of things. But also, there are people who actually take some of the data and analyze it and look to make sure that you're not getting hacked or there's no activity on your network that is unusual to stop hackers. And then you have people who actually do their pen testers where they actually try to break into a network and try to show you what's wrong with your network or how people could get in. And so there's just so many different parts to that as well.
Yeah, interesting. You have two sons. Are they interested in the STEM field? Are they working in STEM careers?
So both of my sons are engineers, actually.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yes, yeah. So we're a STEM family. Yeah, so both of them are engineers, and they actually work for two kind of. One of them works for Rockwell Automation, and the other one works for UTC Aerospace. So we're a STEM family, and when they have issues, sometimes they'll call and bounce some things off of me or how I would handle certain things. So it's kind of cool. And then one of my sons is actually dating someone that is in the STEM field as well.
Oh.
So it's kind of cool to have it like, and then not only that, but their best friend, she's a girl, like she is in the STEM field. So it's kind of cool to have these, but they're bringing all these other young women around me that are in these STEM careers as well. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, for sure. I can just imagine like future gatherings when you get together and just kind of like geek out over the dinner table.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. I mean, or just, just trying to hear in their perspective on new technology and also like the work environments that they're in. And also like the money that they can make coming out of college. Like it's just was unheard of when I came out of college to, make that kind of money. And so it's just kind of interesting to see. And it's kind of interesting to see how these young ladies are actually navigating these careers as well.
Yeah, I remember when I was growing up, being good at math and science, it wasn't really considered cool until once you got to university or college. And then after the fact, it's like, oh, yeah, you can make a really good career out of this. So I'm hoping now that people are educators are encouraging career out of this. So I'm hoping now that people are educators are encouraging that, which I believe that they are, like saying that it is cool and it has a lot of potential. Because I just think back, and even in the movies too, like the way they used to portray like movies and TV shows are like, people being really geeky, but then the Big Bang Theory came out, so now like being geeky is cool.
Yeah, and you'll be surprised, like, the people that actually work in those industries. I always get sometimes when I'm talking to someone, they'll be like, well, you don't seem like an IT person. And I'm like, what? Because I'm personable,
Yeah.
like, because I have other stuff going on. Like, like, what does that look like to you? But I get it. I mean, I understand what they're saying. Even with my sons, it's the same way. Like, when they tell people they're engineers, and everybody's like, really? Because we don't look, I guess, the part.
Right,
But
right.
I mean,
Yeah.
but what is the part though?
Yeah. No, no, it's so true. And that like your job like shouldn't define you, or like now there is no such thing, or like to think not so stereotypically, like we're just like people and we have like different interests, and that, you being in IT and cybersecurity, that's just like one part of you.
And it's nice to be able to put on different hats and do all the stuff that you love to do.
So I wanted to switch gears and talk about actually a different part of you, Shine. And I really love how you came, like the acronym. It just sounds so clever. Like stuff happens, it's not the end. Just shine. Like, how did you come up with that?
So for me, I always felt like I dimmed my light because I was a teenage mom. And so the story behind Shine was every year I actually decide that I'm going to write down my goals for the next year. So in 2013, I wrote down a goal of I wanted to help teen moms. And then I read a quote that said, as we let our light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same, other people permission to shine their light as well. So I was just trying to figure out how I could actually make this whole teen mom thing, giving back work. And one night I was just sleeping and I woke up out of my sleep and it came to me, God gave me stuff happens is not the end. So the whole shine thing just kind of correlated with the wanting to give back. And so it became this whole thing on its own. And so I just want to empower individuals to let go of the past because I was stuck in the past and now I'm shining in my future. And so I just want other people to actually do the same thing.
That's amazing. And it's funny how sometimes like the best ideas, they come at the most random times. Like as you were mentioning, it came to you in the middle of the night and woke you up. Like I remember even like having random ideas when I'm like in the shower. I'm like, oh, that's such a good idea. I need to write this down.
Yes, yeah. It was just like that. I mean, I just woke up out my sleep and it was like stuff happens is not the end. And I was like, oh, this word. And it's so crazy because stuff happens is not the end. And I was like, oh, this word. And it's so crazy because my sons will always will tell people I've been telling them since they were like 5 years old. If you don't grind, you don't shine. So this word shine has always been like a part of our life. So for me to read that quote and then it's like, okay, shine. And then like now you can make this brand that is shine, stuff happens is not the end. And not only do you shine your light just every day, but you shine it as like a lifestyle. So even when you wake up in the morning, you thinking stuff happens is not the end. You have a routine, or the way that you dress, or like it's just a whole lifestyle thing. And I just live it, and my family, like my sons, live it as well. And sometimes they always be like, this is a lot of pressure. I'm like, but you got it, you can do it.
The philosophy behind shine, I think it holds a lot of value, especially given like the current situation we're in now, right? We like need to keep on we're in now, right? We like need to keep on telling ourselves, yes, this is happening, but we know it's not the end. Like things will change for the better once this is over.
Yeah, I mean, especially in this moment, I was talking to one of my friends and I was just like, I mean, you just really don't know what to say, like to people. But I mean, for me, it's just that you still shine your light. You understand that stuff happens is not the end, is not the end for us with this whole coronavirus. But also find ways to improve yourself and shine in your home. So like when you are able to go out, you can be a better person. Like, because that's what shine is. It's about bettering yourself and making sure others can shine as well. So I'm using this time to actually take some IT certifications and actually study for those things. I'm reading a lot more, just so that I can shine my light even brighter once this is over.
Yeah, good for you using your time wisely. So curious to know, like, what thing?
Right now, I'm reading a cybersecurity book, uh, also a security plus book. And then I'm also doing the Draw the Circle as well. And there was another book that I read that I had been recommending to people called The Atomic Habit. To me, in this moment, this a good read because it's about creating habits. Because I think that since we're in the house, a lot of people are probably not actually having a routine.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just think like our different habits, are probably going by the wayside right now. So Atomic Habit to me would be actually a good book. And I read that a couple months ago. But right now I'm just mostly heads down into my security stuff. And I'm also just reading like a daily devotional, which is Draw the Circle. I'm reading that. And then I purchased another finance book that I want to read, but I haven't found a lot of time to do that yet because I'm already in all these other books going down and not really knowing how to invest in stock, in stocks and things like that. I just felt like it was a good idea to purchase a book that could actually teach me how to do that. So I think that would be good as well. Just finding something like that to read.
Yeah, actually, there's like a lot of books that I want to purchase now that I'm trying to make time to read and educate myself. And I just wanted to circle back to how we were talking about habits. And I had a conversation with someone earlier on in the week, and we're talking about how it does take some time to develop habits. And then we were thinking that possibly, people would end up developing more positive habits after this is over. What do you think about that?
I think that if you're intentional, you will. Like really, when you think about it, because I can be honest and say for me, habits suck. Okay.
Okay.
And the reason why I'm saying that to me, they suck. Like I know a lot of people that have habits, but my best friend and I were talking about this and we were just saying how they suck for us because we don't like to do the same. Like we don't like routine. And I think that's another reason why I love IT because when you go to work every day, you don't know what the issue is going to be. Your whole
Uh,
day could be crazy. You can end up being at work 24 hours if your system is down or something like that. And I like I like that part of my life.
right.
But to get up every day, work out, eat your breakfast, or and then sit at the computer and work for this time, and then go to read for this amount of time, and then next thing you know, you're doing dinner. And like to do it is constantly stay on a schedule to me. And this is just me being honest with myself. And in the Atomic Habit book, he talks about that. Like, yeah, it's gonna suck at some point, but you need it. But we need those habits. We need those routines to make us better. And
Hmm.
so I just feel like, I mean, we need them, But we have to also understand that for some of us, it's going to take more work than others.
So, with respect to starting Shine, and for a lot of people, we can relate to how like starting a business is a lot of work. You're wearing all the hats. Did you encounter any obstacles when you first started?
I would say the obstacle that I would say that I ran into was me actually believing in myself
Mm-hmm.
and believing that I had something to offer, right? And I think a lot of people get stuck in that thinking that, well, and this business started in like 2014 is when it came to me. So between that time and this time, I know people who have started brands that have definitely elevated more than mine,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
but that's because, like sometimes you just look around and you're like, well, all these people are doing this, right?
Right.
So what makes me different? But what you have to understand, and what I had to understand, is what I offer is what I offer, and there is an audience that I touch. And I always tell myself that just one. So if it's only one person who life I change, it's okay. But I would think the obstacle for me was believing that my business was worth starting and that people needed what I had. And also staying consistent with working the business. I mean, because what people think, hey, you post here, you post there, or whatever, but people don't really see what goes on behind the scenes as far as planning content or planning, like I would do a women's conference, planning the conferences or planning just the outings that we do, planning just the outings that we do or the events that we have. So for me, I think that those were probably the hardest thing, or getting people to buy in to what you're doing and getting support in it as well. But I mean, that would be the only things for me. Well, not the only things, but the first things initially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, mindset is so huge when it comes to like starting a business and running a business. And it's just crazy how we can be our own worst critic sometimes. So how do you balance the two, like working a full-time job in like cybersecurity and then also working on your business?
For me, you just have to make the time, put the time in. I kind of feel like I have two different personalities. I mean, I just do. But you work and then you just find time to actually work your business, or you plan on the weekends, plan your content, plan. You just find time to actually work your business, or you plan on the weekends, plan your content, plan your Instagram posts, and those things on the weekends. And if you could find somebody to help, like for me, there's been people who have helped me, just here and there. And so I'm very appreciative to that. But it's just kind of making the time to do it.
And if there was someone who was interested in starting their own business, but again, say fear and self-doubt got in the way, what would you tell them?
Um, just do it.
Like Nike.
Yeah, it's just like, I mean, just do it and just focus on what you're doing and keep your eyes forward and stay in on your lane. Do not look at what other people are doing. And yes, you can look at what other people are doing in a sense of how to structure your business, or just for some ideas, but don't compare. Like, just don't compare what you have to what other people have outside of yourself. Then I think that's the motivator. I mean, that's the motivator for me when I think about teen moms and how I can help them shine, or women in general, just how I can help them understand that you have to shine your light and don't feel bad about yourself and those things. And that's the stuff that keep you going. So just focus on what you're doing, focus on your audience. And yes, you can look outside a little bit to see kind of, if you need help and things like that, but don't compare. That would be my thing. Just don't compare yourself to other people.
Mm-hmm, that's so true. And especially like with social media, it can get so easy to compare.
Oh man, it does, because you're sitting there and it's just you and this phone and you're like looking at all the people that follow, or you see these people having just so much other stuff that going on than you have, and you're just like, well, people don't really need. And you get these reminders that people do, because you'll have people, like for me, I'll have people call me and be like, hey, or message me and say thank you,
Aw.
thank you. And so and that's the thing that actually keeps me going, because I know that I am touching someone, and like I said, it's just one person. If it's just one person, that's enough for me.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it takes a lot of courage to, put yourself out there and share your story online. And I definitely agree. Like when someone messages you or tells you just like saying those words like thank you for sharing your story, it means a lot because perhaps they were going through the same thing and they wanted to share their story, but they were too afraid to do so, or they felt like nobody could relate to them.
You get that a lot though. You get a lot of people that was, well, I was feeling bad and I read this thing that you put out, and it changed my life, or it changed my perspective on things. I mean, and it changed my life, or it changed my perspective on things. I mean, that's good, and who doesn't want to change a life or give people hope?
So let's talk about your book called Bruised and Broken to Shine. What made you decide to write a book?
So honestly, I always just wanted to write a book, just to like write a book, but also for my sons. I wanted them to kind of be able to see my life and understand that you will have bruises and you will be broken throughout life, but you can get to the shine, right? And so in the sense of writing it for them and trying to just get it all out, also writing it for other teenage moms or just people in general, just to show them that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, because people don't know your story. All they see is the shine part, right?
Right,
But they just don't know how shine part, right?
right.
But they just don't know how you got there, or they don't know what happened in your life that you had to overcome. And also to be encouraging about those bruises and the brokenness, because usually when people say broken, it's like, oh man, that's a bad word, right? Like if you're broken, it's bad.
Mm.
Well, that's not true because you have to be broken to get the light out, right?
Oh, wow. I just had this like visual, like, the crack and the light coming out of the cracks.
The crack, exactly. And so you need those bruises and you need those breaks to get that light out, because it's not gonna make you if you don't ever go through anything, you probably not gonna fight as hard. You're not gonna shine as much. You're not gonna be as gun ho about getting things done or helping other people. That's just how I see grandkids. I don't have any grandkids, and I've said this before, but I want my grandkids to read it. I want, and I want them to understand that writing a book, because there's so many people that approach you and be like, hey, I want to write a book, I want to write a book. But actually doing it is totally different. So finishing it as well was a reward, because being able to finish it and put it out there, a lot of people don't get to do that. So I feel accomplished. Some people are like, well, it's just a book. But I did that. I wrote this book. And so, and I'm just excited about what it's doing and how it's helping people.
Yeah, no, I would never think writing a book is just writing a book because it does take a lot of time and effort. And with respect to like the creative process, it can be very I wouldn't say like it's time consuming, but also I feel like when I'm doing something creative, once I'm done that, it's like, okay, I just need to take a break and like shut my brain off. Like I feel it.
Yeah, it does, especially if you're writing like a memoir as well, because you have to relive some of these situations.
Yeah. Oh, actually, sorry. Before we expand on that, so like reliving those situations, it kind of segues into my next question. Was it difficult to share your story, like knowing that other people would be reading it, like strangers would be reading it, and it's not like, and I always go back to say something online, like a blog post, like something you can delete. So it's not like you can delete a physical book.
It was really hard. Even like, so I wrote everything myself, but I had an editor like come in and like edit everything. And then there would be some parts where she would be like, hey, I feel like you should tell more of this. And I would like, either I would decide I wanted to tell more, or I would just be like, okay, I'm sorry. I just don't want to expound on it because it was just kind of painful, or I didn't want to hurt anyone else. Right. So I just tried to keep the book about me and talk about some scenarios that happened, but not actually going into too much detail to make other people who were involved feel broken, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I just did not want to do that. So it was hard in some areas because in some areas I just said things and I stopped it there because I didn't want to expound on it because either I didn't want to relive it or I didn't want to hurt anyone else's feelings because, like you said, it's in a book. It's all over. You can't take it back. And so I just didn't want to do that to anybody, but it was hard. And I think that I did a good job of balancing it and actually hitting those points where people do actually understand what happened and what was going on without making other people feel like they did something wrong or, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll be sure to, and also in the show notes. So if people are interested in learning more about the book.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, no problem. So, you've accomplished a lot of things like getting into a STEM career, and you've started your own business, and you've written a book. What advice would you give to like women who want to share their story but feeling the same way, like it's difficult, they're afraid of hurting people, they're not sure how to approach it?
Think about all the people that you can help by telling your story. And not only that, but sometimes this is going to sound crazy coming from me, but sometimes you have to be a little selfish and be like, this is what's going to make me feel better. Me putting my story out there is going to make me feel better. And my advice when people ask me about writing a book as well, my first thing is I tell them, just start writing.
Mm.
Like, just start writing. Don't think about how you're going to publish it. Don't think about how you're going to publish it. Don't think about don't think about any of that stuff. Just start writing. Because once you finish the writing part of it, then you can figure all the rest of the stuff out. But everybody tries to figure out how to publish it, what the cover gonna look like all at the beginning. Don't worry about that. But my advice would be just think about your book and how many people it will help. Think about why you write down why you want to write the book and look at those things daily and just make it happen.
And to circle back to Nike's motto, just do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's basically what it is, because I think that a lot of us be in our head so much that we talk ourselves out of things. So if you just start writing and you just do it, then you can't really, or you write down your reasons why. What is your why for writing it? Why do you want to write it? And you look at those things every day, then you'll be like, okay, this is why I'm doing it and I'm going to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
I'm going to do it.
mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's true. Like a lot of the times people tend to get caught up on like seeing it as such a big project, and it is, but yeah, at the end of the day, like all we need to do is to just start and to break it down, to not put the cart before the horse. But again, I'm also guilty of doing that sometimes too. Like, I need to do this, I need to do this.
It's easy to think about those things. And I'll be honest, I started this book probably like in 2014, and not really like starting it as a book, like, oh, but just me being like, hey, I'm going to write down all these things, and just started writing, and then put it kind of to the side. And then eventually I start writing again. And in the book, people will learn that I had an event happen that actually, like, I got sick in 2018. And instead of feeling down about myself, I started writing. Like, that's how the book have something else happen to me, because that's when the book would be finished, because it was me being bruised and broken to get to the shine.
Right. And in 2018, when you started writing, did you feel the writing to be therapeutic?
Yes, it was therapeutic. It was therapeutic, and it was like a win because my body wasn't letting me win. It's like, okay, I can't do this, and this. I can't really work out. I can't really do this, but I can do something physically with my mind. Like, I can write, that kind of thing. Instead of sitting here and feeling sorry for myself or thinking about all the things that I can't do, let's do what I can do.
Yeah, no, I really love your positive way of thinking, like being able to pretty much turn anything around. One of my final questions is, who inspires you? Who would you like to meet someday? If there's somebody you find like super inspiring, you find like their work has changed your life, who would you like to?
Who would I like to meet? I guess I would say Oprah.
Yeah, who wouldn't want to meet Oprah, really?
Yeah, I mean, a Oprah or a Michelle Obama.
I love her book.
Yes, her book is great. Becoming is so good. But like, and I'll just start with Oprah first. Just coming from where she came from to where she is now,
Mm-hmm.
and just being in control of her, not only her life but her business, right? So many times we as women don't want to, like, we want all these things but we don't want to be in control of them, right? And so the fact that she's in control of those things and she makes sure that all her housekeeping business is in order as far as finances and things like that, I think that's amazing. With Michelle Obama, for me, being very supportive of her husband, but also identity. There's so many women who lose themselves in their mate, and she just hasn't done that. So I just find that like kind of amazing.
Yeah, two very amazing choices. I can totally see myself also like fangirling. Like I wouldn't be able to talk if I saw them. But it's funny because you see those people on TV, they just like go crazy when they see somebody. I'm like, oh, I'd never do that. But if it was Oprah or Michelle Obama, I'm like, yeah, I'd probably do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so if people wanted to get in touch with you, where can they find you?
Okay, so I'm on Instagram at Tawana underscore shine, and it's TAWANA underscore SHINE. Also, you can go to my website. It's www.tawanaanderson.com. And on Facebook, I actually have a Shine Lifestyle brand, like a group. And in Shine Lifestyle brand, like a group. And in that group, there women can share, their thoughts or what they're doing, and they can share any events or, just words of the day and things like that. So I'm also on Facebook as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much for chatting with me today. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, thank you. But also, I forgot, the book is at the website as well, and it's also on Amazon.com, and it's called Bruised and Broken to Shine.
Okay, awesome. So, yes, thank you again for taking the time to chat with me.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no worries. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning in, and stay tuned for more episodes. Ciao for now. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Bacon Bits and Bites podcast. If you enjoyed the content, please subscribe, leave a review on iTunes, and share this podcast with your family and friends. You can follow the podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Bacon Bits and Bites. And on Twitter, it's Bacon Bits _bites. Ciao for now.